My brother made me stand beside the trash cans at my father's hardware store reopening. Not beside my mother. Not beside the family wall. Not near the front counter where I had worked every summer since I was 13. He pointed toward the folding table by the back door and said, "Sweetheart, why don't you help with the napkins? Let the men handle the legacy." Half the room laughed. My mother stared into her coffee like she had suddenly found something fascinating at the bottom of the cup. My sister-in-law Brooke smiled and handed me a black apron. "Caleb thought it would be sweet if you helped serve," she said. "You know, like old times." Then she turned around and took a picture of the family wall. A few seconds later, her post appeared on Facebook. The Hartley legacy finally complete. Except my picture was missing. My graduation photo was gone. My nursing photo was gone. Even the old tornado rescue photo, the one my father kept up for 10 years, had disappeared. And when the town councilman asked me in front of everyone what I had ever really done for Hartley Hardware, I smiled. Not because it was funny, because I finally understood my family had not forgotten me by accident. They had erased me on purpose. So I said the 2 words my father had painted inside his old blue tow truck after the worst night of our lives. "Lantern Girl." The room went silent. My brother's face turned gray. Because Lantern Girl was not just a nickname. It was the name my youngest brother whispered the night I drove into a tornado to save him. And it was the name my family buried after he died. My name is Claire Hartley. And that was the day I stopped letting my family tell our story without me in it. Maple Creek, Ohio was the kind of town where people knew your truck before they knew your name. The diner still had red booths with cracked vinyl seats. The gas station still sold burnt coffee in foam cups. The church sign out front always had one Bible verse and one joke nobody under 50 understood. And right in the middle of Main Street stood Hartley Hardware. Red brick, green awning, a bell over the front door that sounded exactly like childhood. The store smelled like coffee sawdust, motor oil, grass seed, and whatever vanilla candle display Brooke kept trying to force between the paintbrushes and the drain cleaner. My father, Frank Hartley, owned that store for almost 40 years. He used to say a hardware store is just a hospital for broken houses. Maybe that was why I became a nurse. I learned early that people came in carrying broken things. A leaky faucet, a busted hinge, a cracked window, a life. You did not shame them for what broke. You helped fix what you could. For a long time, I thought my family believed that too. Then my father got sick, and everybody started deciding whose brokenness mattered. I lived in Duluth, then working night shift in the emergency room. My life was not glamorous. Most mornings I ate cereal over the sink, peeled off compression socks that left deep marks in my legs, and fell asleep while the rest of the world was starting its day. But whenever Dad needed me, I came. When his heart surgery left him too weak to open the store at 6, I used my vacation days and worked the counter. When the bait cooler died in July, I spent a whole Saturday cleaning out rotten minnows, while Caleb said he had meetings. When Mom got overwhelmed by pill bottles and medical bills, I drove 6 hours and sorted everything into labeled baskets at her kitchen table. Nobody made speeches about that. Nobody posted about it. Nobody painted a sign. That was fine. I did not help my father because I wanted applause. I helped because he was my father. But after Dad died, the silence around me changed. At his funeral, Caleb stood beside the casket and talked about Hartley men. He talked about Grandpa building the store. He talked about Dad teaching him how to stack lumber, shake hands, and run a business. He talked about sons carrying legacy. My mother cried into a tissue. Brooke put her hand over her heart. Everyone nodded, and I sat in the second row waiting for Caleb to say my name. He never did. Not once. After the service, I found my framed nursing graduation photo in a cardboard box in the hallway underneath broken Christmas lights and old extension cords. When I asked Mom why it had been taken down, she touched my arm and whispered, "Honey, this is not the day." Caleb heard me and laughed. "You live in Minnesota, Claire. Don't act like the family wall is your home address." I looked at my mother. She said nothing. That was the beginning of the real grief. Because losing a father hurts. But realizing your family is willing to lose you quietly, that cuts in a different place. 8 months later, Mom texted me a photo. The front of the store had been repainted. Balloons framed the door. A banner stretched across the brick. Grand reopening, Hartley and Son. Underneath in smaller letters it said, 3 generations of Hartley men serving Maple Creek. I stared at the photo until my cereal went soft in the bowl. Then Mom's message came through. "Caleb wants the whole family there. Please come. Don't make this hard. Not we miss you. Not your father would want you there. Not you belong too. Just don't make this hard." I zoomed in on the photo. Behind the register, the family wall had been repainted. Dad's picture was there. Grandpa's picture was there. Caleb's Little League photo. Caleb's wedding photo. Caleb's son Mason holding a hammer upside down. Caleb's daughter Lily sitting on the counter in one of Dad's old aprons. But my photo was gone. In its place hung a wooden sign, built by Hartley men. Since 1958, my hands went cold. I should have stayed in Duluth. I should have protected my peace. But then I noticed something in the corner of the picture, half hidden behind flower pots and a stack of mulch bags. Dad's old blue tow truck, the lantern truck. Caleb had tied a ribbon around it, like it belonged to him. So I packed one suitcase. At the bottom, wrapped in a dish towel, I put Dad's old pocket knife. Not because I wanted a fight, because sometimes you need to carry one honest thing when you are walking back into a room full of lies. When I stepped inside a Hartley Hardware that Friday morning, the bell over the door rang once. For half a second, I smelled my father. Coffee, wood dust, peppermint gum. Then Brooke turned from a display of decorative soaps and froze. "Oh," she said, "you actually came." No hug, no smile. Just those 3 words, like I had shown up uninvited at a party thrown with my last name. "Good to see you too," I said. Brooke smoothed her white sweater. She always dressed like someone who wanted credit for being near hard work without touching it. "We're all just a little stressed," she said. "Caleb has put so much into this." "I can see that." Her eyes flicked toward the family wall. I followed them. The empty space where I had once existed had been covered perfectly. Not messy, not rushed. Perfectly. My erasure had been planned. Mom came out of the back carrying a tray of cookies. She stopped when she saw me. For one dangerous second, I thought she might cry. Then she looked toward Caleb's office and lowered her voice. "Claire, please don't start anything." I had been in the building for less than 1 minute. "Hi, Mom." Her face tightened. "You know what I mean." "No, I really don't. This weekend is important for your brother." "And what am I supposed to be?" She shifted the tray in her hands. "You have your life. Caleb has the store." There it was. The family math. Because I had left town, I needed less. Because Caleb stayed, he deserved more. Because I could survive being hurt, they treated hurting me like a reasonable option. Before I could answer, Caleb walked out of the office. He wore a brand new denim shirt with the Hartley & Son logo stitched over his chest. Not Hartley Hardware. Hartley & Son. He opened his arms like he was on stage. "Well, look at that. The runaway returns." Brooke laughed softly. Mom's shoulders dropped in relief, like Caleb making fun of me meant everything was normal. I looked at his shirt. "Nice logo. Clean branding," he said. "People like tradition." Funny. I remember Tradition having a daughter. His smile dipped, only for a second. Then he leaned close enough that no one else could hear. "Do not embarrass me in my own store." His own store. I looked past him to Dad's old counter. The dent near the register from when Eli dropped a toolbox. The pencil marks Dad used to measure us as kids. The coffee stain that looked like Ohio if you squinted. Caleb saw me looking and smirked. "Memories don't pay invoices, Claire." I smiled once. "Neither does rewriting history." His eyes hardened. Before he could answer, a girl came running from the back room. Lily, 11 years old. Freckles' messy ponytail. Dad's old measuring tape clipped to her shorts. She stopped when she saw me. "Aunt Claire." My chest cracked open. "Hey, Lily Pad." She ran into my arms so fast the tray in Mom's hands rattled. "I didn't know you were coming," Lily said. "Dad said you probably wouldn't because you don't like family stuff." Caleb cleared his throat. I kept my eyes on my niece. "I like family stuff when I'm invited." Lily pulled back. "Did you really drive Grandpa's tow truck in a tornado?" The room changed. Brooke's smile disappeared. Mom looked down. Caleb stepped forward. "Lily." What Lily asked. "Grandpa told me. He said Aunt Claire could see through storms." My throat burned. Caleb gave a short laugh. "Grandpa said a lot when he was sick." I looked at my niece. "He told you the truth?" Caleb's stare cut into me, but Lily smiled. And right then I knew Dad had not let them bury everything. The reopening was scheduled for Saturday evening at First Baptist, because the store was too small for Caleb's ego. There would be pulled pork potato salad cupcakes with tiny hammer decorations, a slideshow, and a ribbon-cutting ceremony, even though the store had technically been open all week. Small towns love ceremonies. They make ordinary things look official. I spent Friday helping at the store because old habits are harder to kill than resentment. A man came in needing a part for a toilet leak. Caleb was busy posing with the mayor near the tow truck, so I found the right gasket, explained the repair, and rang him up. The man squinted at me. "You're Frank's girl, aren't you?" "I am." He smiled. Thought so. You've got his hands. I looked down. My hands were dry from hospital soap. Scarred at the knuckles. Not soft, not pretty. Not the kind of hands Brooke photographed holding coffee mugs on Instagram. But they were Dad's hands. Useful hands. Steady hands. Hands that did not mind being tired if something got fixed. Near closing, I walked toward the back hallway and stopped. The old tornado rescue photo was gone. For 10 years, it had hung beside the employee bathroom in a cheap black frame. It showed Dad's blue tow truck covered in mud headlights, glowing chains dragging with a church van behind it, and several soaked people wrapped in blankets. You could barely see me behind the windshield, but Dad could. He had written on the back, "Claire brought them home." The frame was not on the wall. I found it 20 minutes later in the dumpster behind the store. The glass was cracked. The photo was missing. For a moment, I could not move. Brooke stepped outside, carrying a trash bag. She saw the frame in my hand and sighed. "Oh, Claire." I looked up slowly. "Did you throw this away?" Caleb cleaned up some old clutter. Clutter. The reopening needs to feel fresh. That photo was from the tornado. She folded her arms. "Yes. And people have talked about that night for 10 years like your brother wasn't the one who stayed and held this place together. So my picture had to go." Brooke's mouth tightened. "You always make everything sound so dramatic. My family threw away the only photo of me in my father's store." She lowered her voice. "People don't come to a reopening to hear old trauma." "Old trauma." "Yes," she said. "Caleb is trying to move this family forward." I looked at the broken frame in my hands. "By removing me from it." Brooke's face sharpened. "Claire, you left." Caleb stayed. "That has to count for something." "It does." "Then maybe stop acting like one storm makes you the center of every story." That sentence hit exactly where she meant it to, because the storm had never made me feel like the center. It made me feel like a survivor standing in a room where everyone else had decided survival was an accusation. Before I could answer, Mom appeared at the door. She had heard enough to know what was happening. Not enough to defend me. Never enough for that. "Claire," she said quietly, "your brother already carries enough guilt. Don't make him carry yours too." I stared at her. "My guilt." She looked exhausted. "Please, just let this weekend be peaceful." There it was. Again, peace. In my family, peace meant Caleb did not have to feel shame. Peace meant Brooke did not have to be embarrassed. Peace meant Mom did not have to choose. Peace meant I had to swallow the truth and call it love. I set the broken frame on the back step. "No, Mom," I said. "That isn't peace. That's just silence with better manners." Her eyes filled, but she still did not answer. That was what hurt most. Not that Caleb was cruel. Cruel people are easy to understand. It was my mother's silence that made the cruelty feel official. The next morning, I woke up on an air mattress in the store office. Not at Mom's house. Not in the guest room. Brooke had explained it with a smile. "Caleb's college friend is staying in the guest room and my parents have the den. The office is private enough. You always said you could sleep anywhere, right?" Real family got beds. I got the office floor. At 6:30, I sat up with a stiff neck and saw my father's old mug on the desk. "World's okayest boss." I laughed before I could stop myself. Then I cried. Just once. Quietly. Not because of the air mattress. Because sometimes one small humiliation opens the door to all the ones before it. The missing photo. The funeral speech. The text that said, "Don't make this hard." The family wall. The Facebook caption. Finally complete. I wiped my face, stood up, and folded the blanket. For 1 minute, I wanted to ruin Caleb. Not correct him. Not heal the family. Ruin him. I wanted the whole town to look at him the way he had made them look at me. Small. Suspicious. Unwelcome. Then I picked up Dad's pocket knife from the desk and held it in my palm. The metal was cold. Dad used to say, "A sharp blade is not for waving around. It's for making a clean cut when the time comes." I closed my fingers around it. I did not want revenge that made me look like Caleb. I wanted the lie cut clean. Saturday evening, the basement of First Baptist was packed. It smelled like barbecue sauce, coffee perfume, and old carpet. The smell of every American family event that is half celebration, half judgment. Round tables filled the room. People waved at me, then quickly looked toward Caleb like they needed permission. Brooke had placed me near the back beside the drink station. There was a black apron folded on my chair. I left it there. The slideshow started on a white sheet taped to the wall. Grandpa in front of the original store. Dad in bell-bottom jeans holding a paintbrush. Caleb at 12 with a hammer. Caleb at 16 behind the counter. Caleb and Brooke's wedding. Caleb's kids wearing Hartley and Son shirts. Brooke's Facebook photo of the new family wall. The room murmured warmly. Photo after photo after photo. 40 years of family history. My face did not appear once. Not as a child. Not as a teenager. Not as Dad's caregiver. Not at the counter. Not in the tow truck. I watched myself disappear in real time. Mom sat beside me, hands folded so tightly her knuckles were white. Claire, she whispered, please don't make a scene. I'm not doing anything. You have that look. What look? The one you get when you think you're being treated unfairly. I turned to her. Mom. I am being treated unfairly. Her lips trembled, but still she said nothing. After dessert, Caleb took the microphone. He stood beneath a banner that read, Honoring the Hartley Legacy. He thanked the town. He thanked Brooke for her vision. He thanked Mom for her faith. He thanked his children for being the next generation of Hartleys. Then he looked at me. And Claire made it in from Minnesota. So that's nice. A few people clapped politely. Caleb smiled. You all know my sister. Always had a gift for dramatic timing. Soft laughter moved through the room. My stomach tightened. He kept going. Now some folks remember a storm story from years back. People love stories. But running a family business isn't one big heroic night. It's sacrifice. It's consistency. It's staying when staying is hard. His eyes landed on mine. Some of us stayed. The room made that low, uncomfortable sound people make when they know something is cruel, but not cruel enough for them to risk speaking. A murmur. A chair creak. A fork touching a paper plate. Then Mr. Dawson, the feed store owner, raised his hand. What about Frank's old tow truck, Caleb? You restoring that too? Caleb brightened. Actually, yes. We're making it part of the Hartley & Son brand. It represents Dad, the store, and the men who built it. My fingers curled around my napkin. Mr. Dawson frowned. Frank always said that truck belonged to Claire after the tornado. Caleb laughed. That was Dad being sentimental. Aunt Ruth sat near the pie table in a purple cardigan and orthopedic shoes. She was my father's older sister, and she had been quiet all evening, which was usually a warning sign. She leaned forward. Caleb, tell them what Frank painted inside the truck. The room turned. Caleb's face tightened. Aunt Ruth. No, go on, she said. If you're telling the family history, tell it right, Brooke whispered. This is inappropriate. Aunt Ruth looked at her. So is stealing a woman's place on her own wall, but here we are. A few people gasped. Caleb's hand squeezed the microphone. I don't know what she means. Aunt Ruth looked at me. Claire does. Every eye in that basement found me. Caleb gave a sharp little laugh. Sweetheart, why don't you let the men talk about the store? You were always better at folding napkins anyway. There it was. Sweetheart. Small enough to dismiss. Sharp enough to draw blood. The room laughed again, but weaker this time. I stood. Not fast. Not furious. Just stood. My chair scraped against the church basement floor. The laughter died halfway through itself. I looked at Caleb, then at the banner, then at my mother, then at the room full of people who had known me since I sold them birdseed and snow shovels as a teenager. Dad painted 2 words inside that tow truck, I said. My voice carried without the microphone. He painted them after I drove through Miller's Creek Road with lanterns tied to the grill and brought home a church van full of people. Caleb whispered, Claire, don't. That was when I knew I had to. He painted Lantern Girl. The room went completely still. Someone in the back whispered, oh my God. Aunt Ruth closed her eyes. Lily stared at her father. Mason looked from Caleb to me, confused and hurt. I continued, Dad didn't paint that because I wanted attention. He painted it because he believed legacy belonged to the people who carried family through storms, not just the men who stood in front of signs afterward. Caleb lowered the microphone. His face had gone pale. Then Lily asked the question that broke the room open. Dad, why isn't Aunt Claire in the slideshow? No anger, no accusation. Just a child telling the truth because nobody had taught her how to decorate a lie yet. Caleb did not answer. Lily looked at the banner. Why does it say Hartley men if Grandpa said Aunt Claire saved Uncle Eli? Mom started crying. Brooke reached for Lily's shoulder. Lily, stop. But Lily pulled away. No, I want to know. The silence was no longer polite. It was judgment. I picked up my purse. Don't worry, I said to Caleb. I'm not here to steal your legacy. Then I looked at the empty slideshow screen. I just won't let you build it out of my absence. I walked out before anyone could clap, because I did not want applause. I wanted air. By Monday morning, Maple Creek had already done what small towns do. It turned pain into 100 versions. Claire embarrassed Caleb. Caleb erased Claire. There was something about a tornado. There was something painted in Frank's truck. Lily asked a question and the whole church basement froze. I went back to the store to get my suitcase from the office. The sign over the register looked cheaper in daylight. Hartley and Son, like paint over rot. Lily found me in aisle 4 near the furnace filters. She was holding something against her hoodie. "Are you leaving?" she asked. "Soon." She swallowed. "Did Dad lie?" I crouched so we were eye level. "Your dad told the parts of the story that made him feel safe." "Is that lying?" "Sometimes." She nodded slowly. Then she pulled a folded photograph from her hoodie pocket. "I found this in Dad's desk. He was going to throw it away." My heart stopped. It was the tornado photo. Dad's truck. Mud. The church van. Lanterns. Me behind the windshield. On the back in Dad's handwriting. Claire brought them home. Underneath in a shakier line written years later, "Don't let them forget." I sat down on a stack of salt bags because my knees no longer trusted me. Lily sat beside me. "Grandpa said Uncle Eli called you that night." I nodded. "He did." Dad doesn't like when people say Uncle Eli's name. "Number." "Why?" I looked toward Caleb's office. "Because guilt can turn a person cruel. Because shame needs somewhere to go. Because some families would rather punish the person who remembers than face the person who caused the wound." But Lily was 11, so I said, "Because it hurts him." She leaned against my shoulder. "But it hurts you too." I put my arm around her. "Yes," I said, "it does." That afternoon I went to Aunt Ruth's house. She lived in a yellow ranch home with plastic flamingos in the yard and a kitchen table covered in coupons, pill bottles, and old family photographs. She poured coffee so strong it could probably strip paint. "I wondered how long you'd let them do it," she said. "Do what?" "Turn your life into a footnote." I looked down at the photo. I didn't want to fight over the past. Aunt Ruth snorted. "Honey, the past is like a basement leak. Ignore it long enough and it gets into the walls." Then she opened a drawer and pulled out a shoebox. Inside were newspaper clippings from the tornado, a church bulletin thanking volunteers, a blurry photo of me wrapped in a blanket beside the tow truck, and an envelope with my name written in Dad's handwriting. My fingers went numb. "When did he give you this?" 3 weeks before he died." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he said not to give it to you until you came back ready to stop apologizing for being hurt." I opened the envelope. "Claire, if you are reading this, it means your brother is still trying to own what he did not build alone. That is partly my fault. I thought keeping peace would protect this family. It didn't. It only taught your mother to look away and Caleb to speak louder. You were never just the daughter who left. You were the one who came back when the road was underwater. You were the one who slept behind the counter when my heart got weak. You were the one who knew every customer's name and every broken hinge in this store. I painted Lantern Girl inside that truck because the world needed to know you had a light in you no storm could put out. If they erase you, make them read the wall again. Love, Dad." By the time I finished, the words had blurred. Aunt Ruth pretended not to notice. That was her kindness. She tapped the shoebox. "There's more." At the bottom was an old silver flip phone. Eli's phone. The corner of the screen was cracked. I pushed back from the table. "Number." "You don't have to listen." But we both knew I did. It took 20 minutes for the battery to charge. The phone turned on with a tiny, cheerful sound that felt wrong in the room. One saved voicemail. Aunt Ruth pressed play because my hands were shaking too hard. Eli's voice filled the kitchen. Young, breathless, scared. "Caleb, the wind's getting bad. The county alert says we should wait. Mr. Brenner said the roof can wait one more night. I don't like being up here." A pause. Then Caleb's voice in the background, sharp and impatient. "Stop acting scared and finish it. Dad needs this account." Eli again, quieter. "Just call Claire. She'll tell you I'm right." Then static. Then nothing. The kitchen seemed to tilt. For 10 years, Caleb had let everyone believe Eli's death was just a freak accident. For 10 years, he had punished me because our little brother's final instinct was to trust my judgment. For 10 years, he had turned my name into a threat because he could not live with his own. I walked outside and stood between Aunt Ruth's plastic flamingos, breathing cold air until my chest hurt. I wanted to hate Caleb in a clean, simple way. But grief is never clean. I could see him younger, desperate to impress Dad. I could see him scared of failing. I could see him hearing that voicemail and realizing his little brother had been afraid, and he had mocked him for it. His shame had needed a place to live, so he put it on me. That did not excuse him, but it told me where the poison started. 2 days later, Caleb came to Aunt Ruth's house. He did not knock like family. He knocked like a man afraid the door might tell the truth. Aunt Ruth let him in, then left us alone at the kitchen table. He saw the shoebox immediately. His face twisted. "You had no right." I almost laughed. No right to what? My father's letter, my brother's voice, my own life. His jaw worked. You come back for one weekend and suddenly you want to tear apart everything I kept standing. What you kept standing, the store, Mom, this family. No, Caleb. You kept the sign standing. That is not the same thing. He looked away. You don't know what it was like after you left. I left because every room in that house made me feel like a crime scene. He flinched. Good. I wanted the truth to touch him somewhere. You let Mom blame me, I said. She didn't blame you. She stopped saying my name when she said Eli's. That was blame. His eyes flashed. You got to be the hero. The sentence came out ugly. Honest. Rotten. I stared at him. What? You got the story. Lantern Girl. Claire brought them home. Dad looked at you like you hung the moon because you drove a truck one night. One night, my brother died. Our brother died. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I leaned forward. You think I wanted a nickname? You think I wanted people clapping because the worst night of my life had good lighting? He looked down. You don't understand. No, I understand exactly. Eli wanted to stop that job. You pushed him. Caleb's face collapsed for half a second before he rebuilt it. You don't know the pressure I was under. Pressure does not give you the right to bury people. You left. I left after you made staying impossible. The room went quiet except for the refrigerator humming. He looked at the shoebox, then at the photo, then at me. For the first time, Caleb Hartley looked less like a man defending a kingdom and more like a boy standing over something he had broken. I heard that voicemail before Dad did, he said. My chest tightened. What? He swallowed. Eli's phone was in the truck after the accident. I found it. I listened to it. Then I hid it. The words came out like stones, one at a time. I stared at him. You let us all think it was lost. I couldn't let Dad hear it. Because you were protecting him, his mouth twisted. Because I was protecting myself. There it was. No excuse. No pretty rapping. Just the truth. I sat back. For 10 years you made me pay for your shame. He did not deny it. That almost hurt more. I thought if people stopped talking about the tornado, they would stop talking about Eli. And if they stopped talking about Eli, maybe I could breathe. So you took down my picture. I took down everything that reminded me he trusted you more than me. His voice broke. I hated you for that. The room went still. There are moments when revenge walks right up and offers you its hand. It tells you to burn everything. It tells you pain deserves pain. And maybe sometimes it does. For 1 minute, I wanted to call every person in Maple Creek and let them hear that voicemail. I wanted Caleb to feel as small as he had made me feel. I wanted Brooke's perfect Facebook post buried under comments calling them liars. I wanted Mom to look at her son and finally understand what her silence had cost. But sitting across from my brother in Aunt Ruth's kitchen, with Eli's voice still hanging between us, I realized something. I did not want Caleb destroyed. I wanted the lie destroyed. There is a difference. Saturday, I said. He looked up. What? You're hosting the pancake breakfast at the store before the fall festival. Everyone will be there. His face changed. Number. Yes. Claire, please. You are going to tell the truth. I'll lose everything. You already lost Eli. Then you gave away me. How much more family do you need to lose before pride stops feeling expensive? His eyes filled. I don't know how. Start with his name. Saturday morning, Hartley Hardware was full by 9. Kids in face paint ran between the aisles. Old men stood by the coffee urn arguing about leaf blowers. Women from church arranged muffins like they were preparing for a royal wedding. Brooke wore a plaid dress and a smile that looked stapled on. Mom stood near the register, pale and silent. The family wall still had the wooden sign, built by Hartley men, since 1958. The tornado photo was on the counter face down, waiting. Aunt Ruth sat on a stool near the paint samples like a judge in orthopedic shoes. Caleb stood behind the counter holding a mug he had not touched. People quieted because small towns can smell confession before it starts. He looked at me once. I did not nod. I did not rescue him. This was his road. He had to drive it. Caleb cleared his throat. I need to say something about my sister. Brooke closed her eyes. Mom gripped the edge of the counter. Caleb continued. Last week I called Claire sweetheart in front of a room full of people. I made her small because I was afraid of what the truth would make me. Nobody moved. I let this town believe she abandoned us. She didn't. He swallowed. When Dad got sick, Claire came back again and again. She worked this counter. She took care of him. She took care of Mom. And when the tornado hit Millers Creek Road, she drove Dad's old tow truck into floodwater and brought people home. His voice broke, including Eli. A murmur moved through the store. Caleb gripped the counter like it was the only thing holding him up. After Eli died, I was ashamed. He wanted to stop working that day. I pushed him to keep going. I told myself I was saving Dad's business, but I was really trying to prove I was enough. Mom began to cry silently. Caleb looked at the floor. Eli trusted Claire. Dad honored Claire, and I hated her for surviving the story I couldn't face. Lily was crying now. Mason stared at his father like the world had just become older. Caleb picked up the tornado photo from the counter. I threw this away. A gasp ran through the store. I changed the wall. I changed the sign. I let Hartley and Sons stand for something it should never have stood for. He turned toward me. I'm sorry, Claire. The words were not enough. 10 years do not bend that easily, but they were real. And real was more than I had gotten in a long time. Then Mom moved. She walked to the family wall slowly each step like it cost her pride. She looked at the wooden sign, built by Hartley men. Since 1958, her hands lifted then dropped. She could not do it. Not because she did not know it was wrong, because she had spent too many years letting Caleb be the one everybody protected. Caleb saw it. For once, he did not make her carry the hard part for him. He pulled a step stool from behind the counter. The whole store watched as he climbed onto it. No one helped him. No one spoke. He reached for the wooden sign that had replaced me. His fingers shook as he lifted it off the wall. For the first time all morning, Caleb had to take down his own lie with the whole town watching. When he stepped down, the sign looked smaller in his hands. Cheaper. Just wood and paint. Not legacy. Not truth. Just a lie with nice lettering. Mom covered her mouth. Then she finally spoke. I should have stopped this. Her voice was thin but clear. I thought keeping Caleb from breaking meant asking Claire to bend. She looked at me. I was wrong. The store was silent. I missed my daughter while she was standing right in front of me. That was the sentence. Not perfect. Not enough to erase everything, but honest enough to split the room open. Brooke started crying too, but I could not tell if it was guilt or embarrassment. Maybe both. I posted that picture, she said quietly. The family wall. I wrote that it was complete. Her eyes met mine. It wasn't. I did not comfort her. Some apologies need to stand alone for a while. Aunt Ruth stood with a grunt and walked behind the counter. She came back with a hammer and a nail. Enough talking, she said. Fix the wall. That was Aunt Ruth. No poetry. Just hardware. Caleb took the tornado photo. For a moment, he looked at it like it was burning his hands. Then he hung it in the center of the family wall. Not near the bathroom. Not in the hallway. The center. Lily ran to the office and came back with a marker and an index card. Before anyone could stop her, she wrote, Aunt Claire brought them home. Then she taped it under the photo. People laughed softly through tears. I looked at the wall. Dad, Grandpa, Eli, me, the store, the storm, the truth. For years I thought I needed my family to give me back my place. But standing there, I understood something better. My place had never disappeared. They had only stopped admitting it was mine. 6 months later, the sign above the store came down. Not because of lawyers. Not because of ownership papers. Not because anyone threatened court. Because Lily asked at Sunday dinner, why does the sign still lie? Children are dangerous that way. They make adults hear themselves. The new sign was simple. Hartley Hardware family owned since 1958. Under the front window, Caleb placed a small brass plate. Frank Hartley taught us tools fix houses. Claire Hartley taught us truth fixes families. Eli Hartley taught us to listen before the storm. The first time I saw it, I stood outside with a paper cup of coffee going cold in my hand. Caleb came out and stood beside me. We were not magically healed. We did not become this kind of siblings who called every Sunday and laughed about old memories. Some damage leaves a limp, but we were honest now. And honesty was a doorway. I stepped back from the roofing accounts, he said. I heard. I started volunteering with the county storm safety program. That's good. He nodded. I tell them Eli's story. I looked at him. All of it. His eyes stayed on the sign. All of it. That mattered. Not enough to erase. Enough to begin. A year after the reopening, Maypoolos Creek restored Dad's old blue tow truck. The dent stayed because I insisted. A perfect truck would have been a lie. The passenger door remained warped. The cracked windshield was replaced, but the old frame stayed. The 2 little brackets where I had tied the lanterns were polished but not removed. They parked it inside the volunteer fire station beside photos from local rescues. Kids climbed into this cab for pictures. Old men stood around pretending their eyes were watering because of dust. The mayor gave a speech that was too long. Aunt Ruth fell asleep during it and woke up clapping at the wrong time. Then Lily stepped up to the microphone. She wore a denim jacket over a yellow dress and held Dad's pocket knife in both hands because I had let her carry it that day. My grandpa used to say, "Tools remember hands." She read from a folded paper. My throat tightened. This truck remembers my Aunt Claire. It remembers my Uncle Eli. It remembers that being brave doesn't always mean being loud. Sometimes it means going back for people even when they forgot to thank you. The room blurred. Behind the truck was the new plaque. The lantern truck in honor of all who bring others home. Not hero, not legend, just bring others home. That was enough. After the ceremony, Mom found me outside by the side door. She looked smaller than she used to. Or maybe I had finally stopped shrinking around her. "I found something," she said. She handed me an index card. Dad's handwriting. At the top, "Claire's chili for snow days." I laughed through my nose. "I made this once." Mom shook her head. "You made it every winter after his surgery." I didn't think anyone remembered. She looked at me for a long time. I remembered more than I admitted. That sentence hurt. But it was honest. She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Not because everything was forgiven, because dignity is not the same thing as distance. Sometimes dignity is letting someone hold your hand after they finally understand they should have held it sooner. But I also learned something else. Forgiveness does not mean returning to the old job of being easy to hurt. So when Mom asked if I would move back into the family house just for a while, I said no. When Brooke asked if I could help manage the store's social media, because people love your story now, I said no. When Caleb asked if I wanted my old shifts behind the counter, I smiled and said, "I'll visit as your sister." Not as the woman everybody calls when guilt needs free labor. He nodded. He understood. Or at least he was learning to. 3 years later, I did move back to Maple Creek. But not into my old room. Not into the family house. Not into anyone's unfinished apology. I bought a small white bungalow 2 streets from the store with a porch swing, bad plumbing, and a maple tree that dropped leaves faster than I could rake them. I still worked as a nurse now at the county hospital 20 minutes away. Every Wednesday after work, I stopped by Hartley Hardware for coffee and told Caleb his displays were crooked. He always said they are not crooked. They always were. Brooke and I never became close, but she learned to say my name without making it sound like an inconvenience. Mason started coming to me whenever school projects required building something. Lily spent summers at the store pencil behind her ear, adding up receipts faster than the register. One afternoon, I found her standing under the family wall. My tornado photo hung in the center. Dad's portrait was above it. Eli's picture was beside mine, crooked smile and all. Lily had added a new photo without asking anyone. It showed the whole family outside the store. Caleb, Brooke, Mason, Lily, Mom, Aunt Ruth, me. No one cropped out. No one pushed to the edge. No one missing from the story. Lily looked nervous. "Is it okay there?" I studied it. Then I took the hammer from her hand and moved the nail 1/2 inch higher. "If you're going to tell the truth," I said, "hang it straight." She grinned. That night after closing, I sat alone in Dad's old chair behind the counter. The store smelled like wood dust, coffee rubber boots, rain, and time. Outside, thunder rolled over Maple Creek. Not tornado thunder, just a summer storm passing through. Still for 1 second, my body remembered water over the road lanterns, swinging Eli's voice shouting through wind. "You came. Always." I opened the drawer and found a note tucked beneath the receipt book. Caleb's handwriting. "Claire, I used to think Dad painted Lantern Girl inside the truck because of one night. I know now he painted it because some people carry light long before anyone notices. I'm sorry it took a storm for me to see yours, and I'm sorrier it took me 10 more years to admit it. Caleb." I folded the note and placed it beside Dad's pocket knife. Then I turned off the store lights. The neon open sign went dark. The rain softened against the windows. And for the first time in years, the quiet did not feel like punishment. It felt like peace. People think respect means being praised. It does not. Respect means your name is spoken correctly when you are not in the room. It means your chair is not moved so someone else can feel more important. It means your story is not edited to protect another person's pride. And family. Family is not the people who use the word legacy while erasing the hands that built it. Family is the people willing to tell the truth even when the truth embarrasses them, especially then. My brother called me sweetheart in a room full of people because he thought I was still the sister who would sit quietly and let him own the past. But he forgot something my father never did. A lantern does not ask permission to shine. It just waits for the dark. And when the storm comes, everyone finally sees what was there all along. So tell me, if your brother erased your photo from your father's family wall and called it legacy, would you forgive him after the truth came out? Or would you walk away for good?